Mr. Narasta, prior to September 11th, 2001, how many individuals had flown airplanes into the World Trade Center and killed 3,000 people?
0.
Thank you. Mr. Scott, how many gotaways have there been?
1.7 million known. That means there's evidence, video, whatever, but I can't give you an estimate on how many we don't know in the hundreds of miles of border that are not being patrolled.
Mr. Narasta, where are those 1.6 million gotaways?
They are most likely at different places in the United States.
Who are they?
Working and living.
Who are they?
Well, there are probably people from different countries around the world, sir.
Probably. People from all around the world.
They are from different countries around the world, yes, sir.
Yeah. How many different countries?
Well, if the data that we have about those who are apprehended is any indication, a large number of countries, probably about
162 of them from all over the world?
Probably, yes, sir.
Right. You willing to bet your family's life, my family's life, on the safety of in our country, irrespective of who these individuals are when you don't even know who they are?
Yes, sir. The chance of dying from a foreign-born terrorist attack since 1975 is
Mr.
4.4 million per
Mr.
year.
Narasta, I'm sure that is great comfort to the families of the people from 9/11. Because when you sit here and testify that 0 people have committed a terrorist attack from crossing our border, I'm sure that is comfort to the people who had terrorist attacks committed by people who came here and overstayed their visas.
It is no comfort.
The fact of the matter is, when you talk about having an open border, and you minimize the open border by saying that people have to pay $5,000 to come here in that open border, you're ignoring the fact of what that does to human beings, when it is in fact so open that that's exactly what's happening. I'm sure that your position is great comfort to the man in Baltimore who was being held up for ransom for $23,000 so that his little girl wouldn't get raped in a stash house in Fort Worth. Have you talked to that little girl or to that father?
Was he a terrorism suspect?
Have you talked to that father, Mr. Narasta?
No, I'm not aware of that terrorism case. What was his name?
Have you talked to that father whose little girl was being raped in a stash house?
No, I haven't. Is this a terrorism-related issue?
I'm answering the questions, and this is the subject matter I want to talk about in this hearing, Mr. Narasta, because you're the one sitting here trying to tell the American people that our border is perfectly fine, that it is perfectly okay, that it is, not open because people are paying $5,000 or $10,000 to get here. So it is very much relevant that a little girl's getting raped in a stash house because of the policies of you and radical leftists who don't give a damn about it, because it is more politically expedient for you to saddle up to the Libertarian Cato Institute or a bunch of radical leftists and talk about, how important it is for people to free flow across borders.
I have talked about the chaos repeatedly, sir. The way to reduce the chaos is through legalization and liberalization, not cracking down more. If you cared about the border chaos, that is the way to do it.
Perpetuate the lawlessness, and you know it. Mr. Benchman.
Exact opposite.
Please, Mr. Benchman, can you please expand on your testimony about dozens of terror watch list foreign nationals apprehended at the southern border being members of the Revolutionary Armed Forces of Colombia, or FARC, and how dangerous that is to this country?
Right. One of the most disturbing aspects of the border crisis has been the recent development of FARC-related terror watch listed suspects crossing that border. Those are people who have spent years and years involved in murder, kidnapping, drug trafficking, extortion, bombings. They are experts in weaponry. These are people who the United States absolutely would never countenance coming across the border or never provide a visa for, certainly. The fact that FARC members, former of the delisted faction, but also there are 2 FARC factions that are still listed, that those people would cross our border and come into this United States is anathema to all of our homeland security values, a terrible development that we should pay a lot of attention to, because a lot of Colombians are coming across. It is true that so far we haven't seen an attack. This is a relatively new thing for FARC, but one thing that we have to worry about is that when FARC members cross into the United States, successfully, they will embed themselves in Colombian immigrant communities and very probably begin intimidation tactics, vigilante justice. This is a terrible thing for Colombian communities inside the United States in general. Plus, these people are professional drug traffickers their whole lives. So we're going to be hearing a lot about FARC people over the next decade. This is not.
Yield back.
This is not a reason.
The gentleman's time has expired.
Thank you, Mr. Bensman.
Next is Ms. Escobar.
Go ahead.
I'd like to thank Mr. Correa for yielding to me, switching with me. I want to thank our witnesses, and this is actually an important opportunity for us as Congress members to look at facts versus fiction in order for us to truly solve the issue at hand. I am the only member of this subcommittee and the larger committee on judiciary who was born, raised, lives on the border, raised my 2 children on the border, and I'm a very proud border resident. There is nobody in the country who wants a safe, secure border more than those of us who've invested our lives living there, creating community there, and wanting to make sure our kids can come back to living there. But it is so important for us to realize and acknowledge this is not an issue related to President Biden. Honestly, every time I hear that, it undermines the credibility of the person telling me, because I live on the border and I know for a fact, because I went to facilities during President Trump's administration that were overcrowded, and I saw the daily numbers at our shelters. The only time the numbers dropped were immediately after COVID, and only for a few months. They went right back up in May of 2020, long before the November 2020 election, long before President Biden was elected, even longer before he was sworn in. So we do ourselves and the issue an injustice by politicizing it and blaming the president. Frankly, if there's anyone to blame for the challenges at our border, it's the United States Congress. The United States Congress has failed to reform immigration law for 37 years. And I will tell you, it is absolutely ridiculous for either side to think that one day, if we just wait long enough, we will get everything we want. That's not going to happen. And the only solution is bipartisan compromise. I want to inform my colleagues on the other side of the aisle and on my side of the aisle, we have a bipartisan comprehensive immigration reform compromise right now. It's a bill that I worked on and filed with my colleague, Representative Maria Salazar, a Republican from Miami. It certainly is not a perfect bill. It is not everything I as a Democrat want. It's not everything Republicans want. But it's the first bipartisan comprehensive immigration reform bill that has been filed in the House of Representatives in a decade. Where I will agree with critics of the status quo, this is unsustainable. In fact, I get daily reports about how many people are in our shelters in El Paso, how many people have been apprehended. I am consistently speaking with migrants, with law enforcement, and with NGOs. Congress has to do something. I would invite everyone to begin focusing on what we should be doing within the realm of what's real and achievable in Congress in this political environment, so that we can create not just safety and security for all, but those key legal pathways that are critical not just to better managing a border, but critical to us as a country. What is so distressing about hearings like this is that immigrants are intended to be demonized. Immigrants make this country great. Immigrants have built this country. We need immigrants in order to ensure that we have a sustainable economy. We should be embracing immigrants and fixing broken systems in order to help achieve real solutions. Thank you, Mr. Correa, and thank you, Mr. Chairman. I yield back.
SH0CKED.